I'm excited for today's live webinar, my Tuesday live show. And we are jumping right in to the new year. And hopefully you guys are all moving your coaching businesses along. And today is all about kickstarting your coaching business. But it's not so much just a kickstart. It's a kickstart that keeps on kicking, because we can't just do something short term. This is a long-term play. So I'm going to be talking about some of the mentality behind that today and where we're going to go with that. I do record all of my Tuesday live shows, and I put them on my university, on my website, sellingcoaching.com. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. I have a lot of great resources on my website, sellingcoaching.com. If you want to head over there, right on the homepage, you can enter your name and email address. That's going to get you a great audio resource called Launching Your Coaching Business, the First 3 Vital Steps. So you can go ahead and check that out. And then I'm excited because I am doing another 14-day GoPro challenge. Last year I did 7 of them. They were all fantastic. So far I put 205 coaches through it, and registration is now open at GoProChallenge.com. We start next Tuesday. If you're watching this live, we start on January 19th. That's next Tuesday. If you're watching the recording of this and it's past that, just go to GoProChallenge.com to find out when the next challenge is. You can learn more and register right there. Of course, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can go through my website, sellingcoaching.com, the contact page right there. But I'm very excited about the GoPro Challenge. Last year, we had a lot of great coaches go through it, a lot of success. Now that we're, months past people completing the program and seeing how they've actually moved forward with some of the tasks and items, not only on their own, but also the people that have moved forward and mentored with me one-on-one and in groups. So definitely check that out, GoProChallenge.com. Super excited to see what's going to happen with this year with a whole bunch of new coaches going through that. So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about a plan to kickstart your coaching business. And I wrote Kickstart Your Coaching Business, in the title and the description today, mainly because it's the beginning of a year. But with that being said, I don't like to think about, we can get a kickstart. And people are like, oh, I want a kickstart. I want a jumpstart. I want to get things going. The way I want you to think about it, though, and this is going to happen, is into the mentality of where I'm going today with some of this brief information is really you've got to create a plan, and it's a long-term plan. This kind of couples off what I spoke about last week in setting expectations for the year and managing expectations, because, I got to tell you, I've done this full time as my primary income since 2004. Prior to that, I was in the fitness industry. And so I've always been an entrepreneur. Yeah, I've had some jobs, like paychecks, things like that. But really since I graduated from college, I've been independent and working for myself. I did some things in the fitness industry, was an independent contractor, which is kind of like my own business. I did some small things in health clubs, et cetera, where I got, a weekly paycheck. But it was definitely not enough to bring home everything. I had my personal training business, things like that. And then obviously into coaching business. And, if there's one thing that I've learned along the way, I graduated from college. Can I even remember? 1998 from college. So, literally since then, probably 80+%. And then obviously since my coaching business, 100% of my income has always been by my own hustle. And gosh, even, prior to college and throughout college and in high school, I worked at a supermarket, but, on the weekends and things like that during the summer, I washed cars. I detailed cars for $100 a car. I washed and waxed them. You know what I mean? Even when I was personal training, like my clients, I'd be like, hey, I'll wash your car. I'll detail your car, $100. They drop it off on the weekend. I do a couple cars in a day, a couple cars on Saturday, Sunday, make $400 cash in a weekend. You know what I mean? I painted, I landscaped. I've always had a hustle. Not everyone's like that. Not everyone has that entrepreneurial piece in them. But ever since, really high school, I've hustled for my own money, right? I sound like a hustle, like a drug dealer, whatever. I don't know. But I've hustled for my money, and to earn income, and the concept of becoming more valuable, and understanding the concept that we get paid for the value we bring to the market. And that's a concept you might have heard if you followed me long enough. I've talked about it intimately throughout, and we talk about a plan for your coaching business, and it goes into, like I said, the long-term expectations. I'll get into some details, but I want you to start thinking about, and the reason I'm going into my history in terms of my entrepreneurship is I've always had to hustle, but I've always had to become better. I don't care if it was when I was painting, like as I got better as a painter, it wasn't like it was a profession, right? But it was a young kid painting, So yeah, they're paying less than what they'd pay a professional, but because I was good at what I did, people hired me, and I wanted more. I wanted more money because I wanted more money. It was cash. I was making 10, 15 bucks an hour 20 plus years ago in my pocket. Minimum wage is 10 bucks. Some professionals, some people graduate from college right now, they don't earn 10, 15 bucks an hour. You know what I'm saying? And cash take home. And that was like 20 plus years ago. You know what I mean? So I did well for myself as I did that stuff, but the point is that when I landscaped and things like that, or even as a fitness professional, like I wanted to get better at what I did. And when I got better at what I did, and when I could communicate with people and understand people's needs, and I didn't know all that stuff then, what I teach now in terms of selling, but I understood it intrinsically. And I think we all understand selling intrinsically. It's meeting people's needs. And when we offer something as a solution to people's needs and we're good at it, and they like us and we can communicate, we're offering value. Not only do they want to stay with us and work with us more, especially if it's valuable for them, but the better we get at it and the more valuable we become, guess what? The more money we can create, the more income we can create with that. And that's why I want you to think about this. So when we start thinking about, a plan, for our business, I want you to think about the long-term plan. And part of the long-term plan is you becoming more valuable. And I don't want you to necessarily think like, oh, I've got to get better at my coaching skill set. Yes, absolutely you do. We always, we're always working on that. I still work on it. Even though I'm more of a mentor coach now, I still do some coaching. I actually still have a few just pure coaching clients, which I freaking love. I did that for 10 plus years, with my own life coaching business prior to mentor coaching. And with my mentor coaching, yes, I have some coaching in it as well, but primarily it's the guiding and the mentorship piece. But the point is that we're always working, we're always getting better. But I don't necessarily want you spend like, oh, well, I got to give away coaching if I don't have coaching clients, I've got to read coaching books and things like that. Because I'm not saying don't spend time getting better at your craft, because like I said, you want to be a great coach. Obviously, the more and more you do the business and market yourself, the more coaching clients you'll get, which obviously inherently in time, you're going to get better. What I found in terms of coaching is as long as you're being there and being present and listening and being objective and non-judgmental, like that's a big value for people along the way. Even back when I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, I was still providing tons of value. And, think about my years 1 through 2, let's say out of, when I started my coaching business versus years 4 through 5 versus 9 through 10 through, whatever, doesn't mean I was any more valuable because now I had 9,000 coaching hours under my belt versus 9 hours of coaching. Actually, no, because I always gave everything to every client and understood what they wanted, and that's valuable for them. So don't think you're going to be more valuable there. So my point there is it's not so much becoming more valuable at the coaching skill set. What you're really looking to do is it's becoming more valuable in the business aspect of it. It's the marketing aspect of it. Last week, I had I had my group mentor coaching call with 3 of my group clients. And we're at that phase where we're, weeks, month 5, we're closing everything out and everything like that. And we're in the marketing phase, and we're having those conversations with people. They're having conversations online. They're inviting to their courses that they created with me. They're, having conversations from their marketing efforts where they're, qualifying potential leads to see if they're potential clients. And as we're working through this stuff and I'm helping them through specific cases, which is what I do with my mentor coaching clients, and when we get to that spot, I told them, I'm like, this is your business. Understanding the process, the qualifying process that you take someone through, and then the selling aspect of it, understanding their needs, understanding that timing and the process of that. Like that's the business. When you really get good at that and you feel comfortable with it, it doesn't mean you close everybody. It doesn't mean everyone becomes your client that you talk to. It just means you know where to spend your time and where your efforts are best invested in those people. And when you become comfortable with that and when it becomes fun, that's when you have a sustainable business, because it's only a matter of you doing the marketing efforts to create those conversations. And from there, you'll be able to do that. So my pulling this full circle together is where I want you to become the most valuable and work the most at is the stuff that I'm teaching you, right? With what I do here is the business aspect of your coaching business, right? The coaching skill set and the business skill set are completely different. They're completely different. And so we want to really start to understand that. So the point is now a kickstart for your business is not so much a kickstart. It's more of, okay, think about it like this. Like, I really want you to think about this next year. And, everyone listening to this is going to be at different stages of their business. I would venture to say, knowing most of my audience and my clientele are at more towards the beginning stages. Obviously a lot of people that I've worked with are, mid stage or, they've been working 2-3 years, but they're still really 3-4 years in your business, you're still in infancy of business. I'm 16 years into my business. I don't consider myself like I'm not in my infancy anymore. But I'm still I'm in in the middle of my business. I'm 44 years old. I've got to be able to create sustainable income for a while, at least another 20 years, and it's not like I'm retiring necessarily where I'm going to stop everything. I think I love what I do. You know what I mean? As long as I provide value, but I'm in the prime income earning years of my life, but I've got I've got more time left of work than behind me, hopefully that's with life as well. Right. But the point is so when you think about that, when you think about your coaching business right now, I don't know what age you're at. And I've got clients that I'm working with they're in their mid 60s. I have some in their 70s, right? I've got coaching clients that are, early 30s or, somewhere around my age in mid 40s, et cetera. But wherever you're at, that's why when someone's thinking about working with me, I'm telling them, this is a big decision. If you're doing this as your primary income, this is shaping the future. This is shaping the future of what you're doing with your income, for yourself and your family, if indeed this is going to be your primary income. So I need you to start thinking long term. It can't just be like, oh, I got to hustle and, I've got to, get some clients this month, et cetera. It's like, well, it never stops. And I'm not here to overwhelm you. I'm like, oh my God, it never stops and freak you out with all that stuff. But in some ways, hopefully what it does is it settles you down. It settles you down. It's just like, all right, this is the long haul, so what's the plan? All right, the plan is to start to understand some of the fundamental processes that I've got to be doing in my business and work them into a schedule so that I can do them on a weekly basis. And so I can start to, at a minimum, if I do nothing else, be consistent with those. With all the people that I work with, whether, even if it's in my 14-day GoPro challenge, that's essentially what I do with you in the 14-day GoPro challenge. It's I actually, lay out the fundamental mechanics of what you need to do to get paid in your coaching business long term. So if you're not quite sure what those things are, and you're looking for something to get you going and hold you accountable, like I said, consider looking at the 14-day challenge that we start next week. GoProChallenge.com if you don't know where to find out more and register. But regardless of the people in there or the people that I mentor with and that I work with, that's the stuff that I set you up with. But either way, whenever I'm working with those people, it's like, that's the fundamental piece. My email that went out yesterday to my audience, to my community, I was a behind the scenes email of one of my clients, right? It was one of my clients and they wrote me, I think it was last week or whatever it was. And they're just like, I don't know what to do with my email. I'm frustrated. I don't know what to write about. I don't want to, lose the consistency, and I elaborated from there, but they ended up writing the email. So we've got to stay consistent in some of those fundamental things. And that's why when you think about, there's so many marketers out there. There's so many marketers who are talking, who are doing the Facebook ads and doing these 45-minute presentations, and we're going to automate your business, and that now you're talking about, okay, now we've got to get these subscription services, $300 a month there, and now you got to hire designers, you got to hire web people, you got to hire marketers, for Facebook ads or whatever, and I mean, I'm talking to the average coach and I'm saying, hey, let's, what's your niche? Who are you helping? And they're clueless, or they don't know, or they have an idea, right? Or like, hey, let's write maybe a free offer for your website, or let's start to come up with maybe a course that you might want to offer, next month. And they're just like, oh my God. Well, I'm not saying they don't know what to do, right? I help working them through that, and I'll guide them through it, right? But there's so many of those marketers out there, and they're talking about all these things, but those aren't fundamental mechanics. Fundamental mechanics are what are the basics of staying two pieces. One is getting in front of new people, and speaking your message, however we're doing that, and there's various ways of doing that, right? So that they somehow now go, oh, I like this person. I like this guy. I like this girl. I'm interested in what they're offering or what they do. And then the other phase of that is now once those people are interested and they come on board into your community, email, social media, et cetera, now they're following you in at least some capacity. Now we get to stay in front of them and nurture those relationships over time, email, social media stuff, right? And coming up with a schedule for that, right? That's the nuts and bolts of our business. Like that's everything in our business. And then it's the conversations we create through that process where we begin to qualify people for whatever we're doing in terms of our offering. I mean, if I could break the business down into, that's all it is. That's really all it is. In terms of the modes with which we do that, the vehicles with which we market, stay in front of our audience in terms of what we offer, that's where sometimes it can get confusing because there's so many people out there with all these little ninja hacks and secrets to do all this stuff, right? But I'm telling you, like, keep it simple, offer your coaching. Because, before you start doing ads, like mentor coaching clients, two of my clients asked me last week, what about Facebook ads? What about, paid ads? And I'm like, yeah, okay, but that's down the road. Like, understand your audience. Like, how many clients have you gotten so far? How well do you understand your audience? What are their needs? What are they going to respond to? You're paying someone to put essentially a post in front of who? And what do they want? What do they need? What's going to compel them to click? And what's your monetization plan? Most people don't understand that starting off. Even when I started my mentor coaching business, selling coaching, helping coaches transition to a full-time business, I thought I knew what coaches needed. And of course I knew, just like I think but what are the hot topics? What are the things that they're clicking on and buying and that they really need the most help with of all the topics, right? So we've really got to take some time to understand and nurture. So when we're thinking about our business and planning it out and creating a plan, we want to start to understand those fundamental mechanics, and we want to start to understand, hopefully settling down and relaxing a little bit to understand and say, hey, listen, this is a long-term game. If I said, you're going to be, your travel is to walk around the world and to travel around the world, like from this point to this point in a circle or whatever circle you want to for the next 20 years. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to make a trip around the world, but like that's what you're going to do. So there's really no destination. It's just you're going to keep doing that. That's your coaching business. I don't know if you like the sounds of that, but in other words, it's not just like from here or wherever you're starting off to 3,000 miles away, so I'm not using a location, right? Or across your country or across the sea, a sea. It's just like wherever you're starting from, like, let's go around the world. And once you've made it around the world, it's not like that's the end point. It's just a continuous journey. And so what I'm saying is there's no rush to get there. If you get some geography landscapes you're gonna travel quicker than others because you're fired up, you're motivated, you got stuff going on, you're moving. And then there are going to be some days where you're not moving at all because you need to rest. Or you just want to, you're in Paris or you're in, the Grand Canyon and you want to just explore and enjoy yourself for a little bit. Okay, do that, right? But then what are you going to do? How do you make it around the world? You got to have a plan. You got to know, okay, what's the next point? How am I going to get there? What's my fuel? How much is it going to cost? How am I going to get, right? There's a whole planning involved. And that's without the specifics of all that stuff, which obviously I can't go into today for your coaching business. I tried to lay out some specifics in terms of general terms. That's why I want you to think about your coaching business, right? So there are going to be days off. There's going to be time to rest. But then there's got to be that scheduled time where you're working and you're doing and you're making the efforts. But again, it's starting to understand, what are the fundamental mechanics of what you're doing. And so in closing this out, I'll say one more time, if that's something that you really want to understand better, the best thing I have for you to start out of the gates before you mentor coach with me or anything like that is just check out my 14-day GoPro Challenge. The website, GoProChallenge.com. We start next week. If you're watching this live, you know anyone else that's interested in it, have them check a look, GoProChallenge.com. I'd love to see you there. You'll learn plenty on that page to see if it's something that's right for you. But I walk you through step by step on creating your event, marketing yourself, inviting, and then following up. And it's a complete process of how to get clients and market your business. So check that out, GoProChallenge.com.